Okay, so like I was saying, I wanted to create another card. So let's go back to the data so that we can get used to the techniques. So the next card is the one that we answer the question of the sum of total net salary for all the employees. So I'll go back to my insert and then I can choose to still go with the recommended pivot. So let me go with this. And remember that we have already a sheet where we are assembling all our reports. So there's no point of you going with this. You just go with the existing worksheet and then you click inside and then you navigate to the sheet where you have the dashboard and then you click where you want the report to be and then click. So now what we are adding to this report is just the net salary. The net salary, that is what we are adding. Now, like I told us last time, if you don't want to start the formatting afresh, all you need to do is to copy it from the existing report. You just go to home and then select the format painter and then highlight the report you want to format. So let's get one more card before we proceed with the focus of tonight's training. So going back to the data set so that we can get the next card. Let's say we want to sum up uh the total sum of wardrobe allowance. We want to get the total as well. So which means that I'll go back to insert, then select the pivot and then select existing report, click inside, and go back to your report, specify where you want to add it, and then you click. Then you add just the wardrobe allowance, add it to it, and then I will have to also unify the format. So the same thing, I'll go to Home tab after selecting the one you have already formatted, and then highlight the report. That selection is wrong. Then we go back again, then select this, make sure that you highlight it precisely. So I have my card already designed. Now I want to create some, I want to explain this card. I want to explain this card, which means that I want to give a breakdown of probably each of these cards as my table. So what we analyze here is the total. So let me return everything here. Let me return everything here. So what we have here is the total basic salary for all the employees. And now we are asked to break it down per department. That is, the company wants us to analyze the percentage of or the amount of this basic salary for each of those departments. So that is a comparison or categorical analysis. So what I'm going to do is to quickly go back to the data set and then go back to my insert, then choose this, specify where you want to output the report, go to the dashboard. So I'm leaving this line, I'm clicking here and then click. So this time around, what I will do is just to add, remember the question, we are summarizing basic salary per department. So I'll start by adding what? Department, and then summarize the basic salary for each of the listed departments. So I also want my format to be unique. So what I will do is to also click part of the area I have already formatted. Go back to my home, select the format painter, and then highlight the area you want to format. So I just want my dashboard to be unique. So it's not about using 20 colors that actually makes your dashboard professional is by making it very simple, because this is about user friendly dashboard. So the next question I want to answer is to create a graph of this here. All right. So I will now explain only this. So I'm explaining this using a tabular model, and then I'm also interpreting this with a graph, a way of me to easily identify the pattern, the trend, and the outlier. So that will take us to pivot chart. Is part of the advanced command in pivot table. Though we taught it last time, but let me repeat it again. So what is pivot chart? So pivot chart is used to visualize pivot reports. So you cannot have a pivot chart without having a pivot table. So how do we apply it? You click on the particular report you want to create its graphical version. So once you select that report, definitely you will see a header that will pop up here. That we have it here, pivot table analyze. Once you expand it, you are going to find pivot chart. Once you click on the pivot chart, you will now have different list of charts. So now, like I said the other time, it is very important you understand how you prioritize this graph. You don't use them anyhow. Why do I want to use bar? Because I'm looking at the variables here. There are much. I have how many unique departments here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I use a pie chart to present this, there is every possibility that I'm not going to easily identify the trend, the pattern, and the correlation. So you should know the best scenario to use in of this graph. So I want to use the column, and then you will just click on OK. So I have graphically visualized what this report. Now you can see the way I am mindful of the arrangement of my reports in order to have a design or well layout dashboard. Because I noticed the report some of you sent to me, the layout was not well arranged. So you can see that I'm trying to make sure that the height of this graph is the same thing with this, or both of them maintain the same level. Now I can make this graph more detailed. I can make this graph more detailed. That is, in a way that somebody can easily interpret it, because that would be one of your motives. Graph, the beauty of graph is that somebody can easily what? Interpret it. So don't go and use complicated graph that somebody cannot easily what? Interpret. So now part of how I can detail this particular graph, you click on it and then you go to design. So from design, you will see add chart element. So once you click on add chart element, you are going to see all these tools based on the type of graph you are selecting. So let's assume that I want to label. Data label, like I explained the other time, is to attach the value to the graph or to the bar. So if you by the time you add this value and you feel that the graph is too clustered, then you can decide to leave them, and then you can even back it up with a table. You can come here and say, okay, create a tabular explanation of what the bar or the graph itself is presenting. So which means that this is like an alternative option where somebody cannot interpret the graph in the bar, the person can fall back to the table. So it's an optional section. I just want you to know that all these tools, they are there for you to enhance the the interpretation or the presentation of your graph. Now, there are some preset files that you can take advantage if they are active based on the graph you use. So another thing I want to show us before I shift my focus to the next topic is how do I change my chart type? Supposing you have presented with this from the beginning, and then after this, you now observe that this is not the best graph to present this data. So you can go to change chart type, and then you cannot choose another one. And once you choose it, you click what? Okay. So you can see that what I have changed that type. You want to change to another one, you go back there. This is where you have different categories. You want to change it to pie chart, you can as well change it to that. Then once you change, you can also use the same element to modify it. So you can see that we have limited element based on the type of graph we are selecting. So I can just come here and say, okay, I want all these values to be written because this actually makes it more interpretable because somebody can easily know, okay, what is this sector? What is this sector? So that is just for that. Now, if I want to, since all these are not active, but I want to change the background color. So what do? I can manually control this by going to my format. For format, I can click here and choose the background. So I just want something unique or that could go with the colors I have used. So let me see if I use exactly that color, everything will be blend. Okay. All right. So now that we have reports, that will now take us to some of the advanced commands that can be used to with your pivot report. So let's quickly look at those commands briefly before we go for their application. So all these that I have listed here, they are like the advanced aspects of pivot table. Now, what we have done so far is like basic. It's what everybody can easily know. But when it comes to pivot slicer, pivot table timeline, pivot chart, remember that I've already covered this, pivot refresh, pivot report breakthrough. All these require advanced technicality. So I'm going to start with the pivot slicer. So what is a pivot slicer? A pivot slicer in Excel is a visual filter tool that makes it easy to filter data in a table, in a pivot table. So which means that you can only use it when you are dealing with what? Pivot report. I hope we are following. Please, can I get a response, at least from one person to know if you can hear me? Please, are we following? Let me hear from one person at least. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me. Are we following? All right. All right. So now we should see pivot slicer as an advanced filter command. You know, we just use one filter the other time when we filter out, when we narrow down the summation of the basic salary to data and edu. So that one is like the basic filtering command. Now we want to go a little bit more advanced for the still part of what data. So let's go to the data now and see how I can apply the pivot slider. Now, the first thing is for you to select any of the reports. You must select one of the reports that you want to slide. Now remember, we just said that it's a filter. It's a filter command. Now, what we are trying to do here is that we want to use the same models that we have created to answer other analysis questions without us creating or duplicating this model. That is exactly what we are trying to achieve. If not for pivot slicer, what you will have done is to go to a different sheet because you want to answer another set of analysis question. You go to a different sheet and start creating their report model. Because of the slicer, I can use one model to answer what multiple analysis questions. So for example, here, the question we are currently answering with this model is the sum of basic salary for all the employees. Here, the sum of net salary for all the employees. Here, the sum of wardrobe allowance for all the employees. Here, we are given a breakdown of the sum of basic salary per department. Now, what about if I want to change the question? If I change the question from, let me look for a perfect scenario. If I change the question from, now I don't want you to use this to answer this question. I want you to display, uh, I want you to display the sum of total basic salary for only male employees because this particular value now is for both male and female. And in a way that once I narrow this report down to only male, it will affect this automatically. It will present all the reports, give us just for male at once. That is exactly what we are targeting, which means that what this will give us only for male, the sum of net salary will give us only for male, the sum of wardrobe allowance will give us only for male. Then where you did this breakdown, so here we give us what the analysis of the sum of basic salary per what each department, also for what only male. So this is the kind of scenario where you should bring in what slicer because the one you did here, you filter data and edu, it did not affect this report. It did not affect this. So that's the limitation of that basic filter. But when you use slicer, you can what filter across multiple reports. That is the key difference between slicer as filter command and what the other basic filter. So let's quickly look at the steps on how to use the pivot slicer. Step number one, you must select one of the reports. Why? Because if you don't click on any of the pivot reports, you are not going to see this particular command, pivot table analyze. And if you cannot see the pivot analyze, you cannot see what is that slicer. Okay, so these are some of the things you need to look out for. But I'm going to have a challenge here based on probably the report because I can see that the insert slicer is not active. Probably based on how the reports were generated. So which means that I'm going to use, I'm going to create another one briefly and use it to explain to us. Because as it is now, normally as you click here, they are supposed to have this command active. They are supposed to have them active. So let me find out what is the cause. So I will just click, go back to the data set and go to insert just for us to understand what is going on here. And then if I just click here, I want to project another one in a new sheet. And then let me perform at least one or two analysis just to confirm it. So I will analyze the sum of basic salary per what this. Now let me click here and say something is wrong. Something is wrong here from my own sheet. Okay, to confirm it all, I think I have another data set here. Let me see if I can use it. Okay, so let me use this. Let me use this. This. Let me use this. This. Let me summarize lot type. Let me summarize the billing amount, the lot type. So you can see sometimes your data format. When it happens like this, the only way you solve it is for you to clear all the formats. One of the particular format, like that color, this is what because if it happens to be the data you are working with, where you are not allowed to switch to another data, what will you do? This is what you will do. You see, the problem here now is that next time, don't give all this color until you are done with your pivot report. So that is the problem. All these colors that are given is the problem. If you try it and you see that it will work for you, but just not to waste our time, let me use it. So I have this particular report. Let me create another one quickly, or let me use this one to create another report to see. And then I just want to have the report just to show us how the slides are working. And then here I am analyzing gender against the same billing amount. So I will copy this again, Ctrl C, just to save my time. Paste it here, and then here I am analyzing doctor. I'm analyzing doctor. That is going to be too much. Medical condition. This is multi-level, so I have to drop this just to have it. So now let's say I want to slide. I want to slide. To click on one of the reports, like I told us, and then you go to pivot the table analyze. Once you are there, you will see insert slicer. So once you click on insert slicer, Microsoft Excel will call out all the headers in that particular data set. So you have to know the criteria for the filtering. Now, and for you to know the criteria for the filtering, you need to take into consideration the reports you have in your model. What did you analyze here? Here you summarize the sum of billing amount per blood type. Here you summarize the sum of that same billing amount per the gender. Here you summarize the same sum of what billing amount per medical condition. What we should have done to avoid this issue of not knowing which header is it, click on it like I told us the other time. Click on it, and then come here and change it. So you can change it to what? Medical condition. Medical what? Condition. Medical what? Condition. So that it will be easier for you to identify. Then when you click here, this is gender. So you come to this label here, change it to, let's say, sex or gender. So the same thing here is blood type. You can click here and change it also. It's very important to do it like this so that you know what you analyze there. Now let's go back to the slicer. To click on the report, like I told us before, then in order for this to be active, and then select the slicer. Now, like I was explaining, I will target another header. I'll target another header as my slicing condition. Let me check what I have here. So here I have gender, I have type, I have medical condition, I have. Now I would like to filter by admission type. Admission type. So if I click here, that is, I'm using just one header as my slicer. So I click, so that will give you a slicer like this. So your slicer should also form your design. Now we have just 3 unique admission types. if it's not elective, it's emergency or urgent. Now, this particular report that you have here, which is the summary of billing amount per blood type, is for all the patients that were admitted under this three. But now they want you to narrow it to what? Only patients that were admitted under what? Elective. So that is one thing you can do with Slicer. So if I click here now, remember that the Slicer affected only this. Why? Because that was the report you click on before adding the Slicer. But what I want is that I want the Slicer to affect all the report I have on the sheet. That is exactly what we are looking at, not just affecting the one that was used to create it. So that will now take us to, this is where you click to return everything. So that will now take us to how to connect this Slicer to all the reports within my dashboard. And to do that, you click on that Slicer you want to connect. And then once you select that Slicer, you will see Slicer here. And then you will see what? Connection here. You will see report connection. So once you click on it, you will now see the list of all the reports. If you have created, let's say 10 reports, all of them will be listed here. And the one that it is currently analyzing or filtering or slicing will be marked. So the rest you just go ahead and mark them and then click OK. So the next time I select this, what is going to happen? Let me create a graph of at least one of these somewhere here, pivot chart. Let me use we are just two unique variable, male and female. Let me add the graph somewhere here. Let me go to design and change the format. Let's assume I'm working with this. Yeah. Now, if I change my filter now, let's look at it. So I want to slide with elective. What will happen? You can see that what is affecting all the reports. If I check this, it's affecting all the reports. If I check this, it's affecting all the reports. I hope it's clear. Please let me get the response from somebody. Is it clear?
Wonderful. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
It's not that clear. Oh. I will
Okay,
have
so
to.
yes, just ask, just tell me the area that. Okay, let me add another slider. Is that from slider that you have issues? But let me just add another slider so that we can go through the process again. You don't have issue with how I created all these reports, right?
No. It's just
Okay.
for us to.
How I connected the. Okay, so what will happen is that let me just repeat that slider, and then I'll give us like 10 minutes to what to practice, and then so that we can get some feedback. So now we can actually have multiple sliders because here, depending on the question you are targeting to answer. So right now you are answering the question of, okay, narrow this report based on what admission type. So it can change to, okay, narrow the report based on age. So in that case, you cannot perform that filtering with this. We have to bring in another slicer that the condition will be age. So how do we go about that? The last time I created this one, I used this report. Like I told us, you can actually use any report to create your slide. So let's say I want to create a slider with this one. Now, once you have selected that particular report, you go to pivot table analyze. From here, you will see what the insert slicer, and then that will bring out all the headers Now remember that I said I want to filter by age. So this time around, select age. So this is a slider that captures all the age. Now, I want to narrow this report down to what? That will give me what? The summary of billing amount where age is equal to 13. So if I click here now, what? So this is the what? The billing amount, the summary of billing amount per blood type where age is equal to 13. If I select 14, you see that you keep getting what?
Sorry. Where did you get the data set you are using for this dashboard now? Where is it the
Yes.
same data set you've been using since?
No. I shifted to this data set because I discovered that I shouldn't have formatted before bringing slicer. You see that when we were on this particular data set where we have created some reports, my slider was not active. You can see that they are not active. And
Okay.
the reason is that instead of me to have completed the whole stuff before I do all this coloration, so that the formatting that have happened across this report is the reason why this is not active. So your own, so that you can see, so that you can understand what I'm saying. You shouldn't use the one I'm using now. You are still going to use this particular one, the one I dropped in the group this evening, which is this one. But what you will do is that don't format yet, just create all the reports without transforming them, then create your slider, everything. Then once you are done, you can now think of what formatting. That is the
I've al-
reason why.
I have I'm
Okay.
already I was already at the same level you were then. Mine is
Okay.
yeah, it's
So that means we're
completely
also
formatted.
formatting alongside with.
Yes.
Okay, but I believe you experience the same thing, right? Is your slides are active? Just select
Let
any
me
of the
click
reports
on
you have generated and
yeah,
see if
mine is active. Yes, it's active.
okay, that means you are lucky with your own Excel there. So if you are lucky with it, that your own is still active, then
Yes.
you can perform what I'm doing here now. What I'm doing with my second data because I shifted to this data because I needed to explain. I don't want to start afresh with that data. I don't want to start removing or
It is
format.
always good we use it is always good we use the same data set you're
Yes,
using so that
yes,
yes.
yes. I understand, but it's not a must. That's why when I said you can use different data sets. It shouldn't be except you are trying to like okay, it should look like its own. But nevertheless, I can send this particular data set to you. But I believe we all have it. If you don't have it, I will send it to you. For
I don't
everything that
have
I've done here, you can as well do it with that data. Because what we are doing, just that if you are working with that data, you will not have admission type. You can filter by the grade. In fact, that data is even richer than this because this particular data, I just have only one header with what number. That's why if you see now, all of them are billing amount, billing amount, billing amount, billing. But that data is richer. That's why I wanted to use it. Okay, so let me just complete what I was explaining. Then maybe during that 10 minutes break, I'll forward us this particular data for those that want to use it. So now you should always know how to return your value after you have done your pitch using this essay. Just click on it, return all the value. And there's something I want to show. When you click on 13, the analysis you perform here is narrow down this summation for only what? Uh, for only patients with their age is equal to what? 13. That is what you did. Now, what about if the question is that, okay, narrow it down to 13, each 13 and each 14. How do you do it? You hold down your shift button and select the next one. So you can see that right now, I am analyzing for two words, different words each. Then if you hold down the control button, you select 15, Now see that what that is for three words each. So the same thing like that. That is how you can do multiple selection, like we did the other side with that pizza. So if there's no question, the next 10 minutes or your class work start for those that want to try. So let me give us 10 minutes to see how you can list what we have learned. We still have uh, those advanced those advanced commands that are highlighted. So we have concluded LISA and then also pivot chart. So once when I return, I am going to focus on this and then this remaining two. So the main one that is remaining actually is just this. So let's try, please. Let's try for the next 10 minutes. Then for those that want to use this data, let me see how I can get it across to you now. And if you have questions, you can as well use this 10 minutes to ask questions. If somebody should share his or her screen so that I can know what is the ambush, you can share your screen. Let's see what you have done. Others, please continue to do the same. So I just forwarded the data to you guys now. This will be the ambush screen. Okay.
Yeah, I'm already working with, I don't know, you can't see my screen.
I can see. Go ahead. Just continue.
So since we've gone halfway with that this particular data set, so
No, just continue. Just continue.
I just added slicer.
Yeah.
Come on.
Who else is working? Mr. Kayode, are you doing something? Mr. AS, are you doing something?
Sir, I actually miss a lot of this thing. I was in between other things here. My apology is day here. So can you hear me?
Yes, I'm with you. So please, you will have to take time to
Hello.
watch the video, like all the video, please. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. You say you missed most of the class.
Yes, I'll go through
Just,
the video.
just follow the video. Just follow them sequentially the way we did them so that when you finish watching the previous one before you step into this, so that everything
Yeah.
will be read. Okay, so I think Mr. Ambrose, you have been able to use the
Okay.
slider. I
Okay,
think
sir.
you have gotten the concept, so we can proceed. Then so that we can complete the topic. At least I can see that you have created one slider.
Yeah.
So at least you have gotten it. So just take your time to go through. So let's just complete
Yeah.
the remaining topics. I will know that we have done uh, pivot, pivot table. Now, we still have, we still have, let us take a pivot table timeline. Pivot table timeline. I think I should have definition somewhere here. Good. So a pivot table timeline in Excel is a special type of slicer specifically designed to filter dates. And look at the criteria now. So if your data set does not have dates, you cannot use pivot timeline. It's for analyzing data, for analyzing historical data. So you must have a particular uh, time frame data. That is why it's emphasizing on date, because date will help it to know the period each of those values we are collecting. So it's a very powerful tool, but remember that the qualification is that your data must have date header or time header. Now, let's go back to the data set and check whether we can actually use a pivot timeline to analyze this. So let's go to the data source itself and check whether we have any header like this. Yeah, we have about we have discharge date, so I can use this. I think that is the only header that actually qualifies me to use timeline to analyze it. Okay, and if you look at this, we have it in we have the discharge date in different years. We have 2020, 22, 21. This is a very good one. It's a very good one. Now, let's go back to where we have created our pivot report. Either pivot slicer or timeline, both of them, you must have a report created first. You must have a report. So now, what you will do is the same step that we follow when we were dealing with what? The slicer. So you must click on one of the reports and then go back to that same pivot analyze, and then very close to a start slicer, you will get what? A start what? Timeline. So once you click on it, you can see the two of them. So you can see that when we use slicer, it calls out all the header. For now, it calls out only two, which means that what these are the only header qualified for this. So let me use it based on the date of admission, and then I click. So you can see this command is very sensitive. So it will automatically group the whole of your report based on the year, based on the history. Right? So what we are seeing here is per month. So you can switch it from per month, that is you want to filter per from month to what year. So all these ones that are active, it means that this particular data set has records that were collected in 2019, 2020. So now the question is this: what you have put here is the sum of billing amount per block type. Now, here you did not specify the particular year. As far as I'm concerned, this span across 2019 to 2024. Now, the company wants to see the reports on this model for only 2019. So what you will do is that you will just click here. Now, you can see that it's affecting only this because we have not linked this timeline to other reports, just like we did to our slicer. So to do that, let's quickly go ahead and connect it. Click on it, go to the timeline, you will see the same word, report connection. Make sure that what all the reports are checked and click. Now let's go back again and click on that word 2019. What was up? The report active across all the models. So what you are currently reporting here is the sum of billing amount per block type for only 2019. Now, like I said, you are supposed to be taking note of your observation. Are you with me? You are supposed to what? To be taking note of your observation. So as you filter this now, you check which one is the highest. You identify the trend, the pattern. With the graph, we give you the pattern if we have created. Remember that we have not created graph. But when you are doing your own, make sure that each of these key reports has what? Graph. So that as you are doing this, the graph will also what? Be changing. And when you want to write your conclusion, the graph will help you to know. Like now, if I look at what I have here, this is the sum of billing amount per gender for only 2019 what? Record. So which means that after this filtering, I discovered that what the female, or can we say female perform better than, female perform better than the male. Now I'll check for 2020. You see the graph change. Now in 2020, you can see that what male is not doing better than what female. So if I go to 2021, you see the way the variables are changing across board. So this is what you can do with the timeline. You can see the kind of analysis we are doing is different from the slicer. So a bank can give you their data set that must have spanned across different years. Let's say since their time of work existence, and they can ask you to narrow your report to a particular year. That is where this timeline is very important. But remember that what your data set must have what date or time header. If your data set does not have it, either you manufacture it if it is possible, or you can just stick to what slicer. Do we have any question on the timeline analysis? Any question, please? So there's no question. I will just okay.
No, I did not get it, but it's okay. I can always come
Go
back.
back to the okay.
Question I want to ask is, you know, where you said that I think that was the last class that
Okay.
one have started failing already if he does not have the capability to ask questions from data sets.
The data set, yes.
Yes. Does it mean like in an office scenario,
Okay.
is it that it is your responsibility most times to generate these questions, or the task that is being given can point towards these questions And
you have already answered. Thank you for that suggestion. At least you have enlightened others. The task given to you will guide you on the question. But let me answer that question properly. Most times, there are two types of people you work with or organization. There are some organizations that have this skill theoretically. They don't have the technical skill. They will still guide you. They will tell you what they want. So that kind of organization will be of major help to you because they are going to be giving you some clues that will know. The only thing you will now be looking at is okay. Once they tell you that this is what you want, then you will just shift your focus on the formula and the techniques you are going to use instead of you thinking of what to do and also thinking of the techniques and the formula. Meanwhile, there are some organizations that do not have any knowledge on what you are employed to do. So it is your responsibility, sir, to do what? To draft questions that will lead to the right insight that will guide them in making uh, smart decisions. So it depends on where you find yourself. That is the reason why I advised the other time that take it upon yourself that as a data analyst, you must learn how to draft questions. And you cannot draft quality questions if you do not understand the data. That's why we started with how to understand the data. You study the data. But once you understand the data, I'm very sure that you'll be able to work to find so many questions you can ask and also answer. I don't know if I've answered your question.
yeah, you are because the in our assignment, the questions you asked took quite some time to to get answers to them because thank God the first few ones, like the number one, number three, are the normal cards,
Yes,
the summation
yes,
cards.
exactly. Yes.
But when you started digging deep into some, they were quite difficult, and I tried to understand those questions from the data set. It was a bit difficult, but I was
Now,
able to maneuver.
yes, that is, you see, uh, one of the major challenge in data analysis is critical thinking. Every data analyst is a critical thinker. You cannot be a data analyst or be a programmer and you don't know how to think critically. That is what they are going to pay you for. The owner of the data, they look at the data, but they cannot factor out anything that can help them. So it's you that will not think deep. Because it's headache. A lot of students sometimes will say, I'm having headache. You understand? Particularly when we are using Python. When we get to Python now, the headache will increase. This one now is application. Yes. If those people that have not really started now, when we get to Python now, you will think, because application is very friendly. The user interface of Excel is very user friendly, but Python, the programming language, you are going to be writing the code. And sometimes you are not even seeing what you want until you deploy the code. So it's part of the skills that every data analyst must have. You must be a critical thinker. That's why I told us from beginning. The best place for us to work is the admin department, the policy work making department, because these are people that think outside the box, not general employees that do not even care whether company is generating money. All they think of is that when month end they get their salary. That is not where we should work. We are solution provider. We are people that can go and think deep to bring out something that they could not see. And that is why they will continue to call you. That once they give you data, you have that eyes. Let me use that word. That once you look at data, you know what and what can guide them in making precise decision. Because it's about decision making. So many, in fact, almost every company, whether small or big, directly or indirectly, it depends on data. Only that some of them don't collect particular data. Their data are in their realm of imagination. But just like I always ask, you think before you spend your money, right? You don't just go to the bank account and don't withdraw money without thinking. You also analyze it. You analyze what you have there. You analyze what you want to buy. But in real sense, we must record it. We must have value representing that which is going on in your mind. And the data we are given is what we will now use to know the strength of the organization. So that is why the data you are given like this represents two things. Every time you are given data set as a data analyst, there are two things that data set represents. Number one, it represents their past experience, their past performance, their yesterday, and it represents their today. Now, it is what you bring out from yesterday and today that will now guide them in taking steps for them to achieve better in their tomorrow. That is the essence of the whole of this data analysis. Nobody wants to make mistakes. Big companies that want to invest billions of naira, they first sit down their data analysis, give the person their 5 years back data, 10 years back data, and tell the person to come up with some information that can help them in making decisions. That is what this program is all about. So it is normal that you are having any. In fact, I was in a hurry drafting those questions. If I sat down properly, the question will have looked more twisted. Because sometimes it should be deliberate to twist the question in order to force you to think it out. So that is it. I believe I've answered your question. So let me quickly round off with let me go back to the slide. I mentioned a couple of advanced commands that I want to end up with. So now we know pivot slide back, we know pivot timeline, we know pivot charts, and then let's look at let me take refresh and then I'll end it with this. Now, what this refresh does is that let's go back to the data. This is the source data. This is still an ongoing data. They've not come to the end. Let's say the data entry will be closing by December, and this is November. They are still going to make sales, and they are still going to add them to this data set. Now, does it mean that they will call you tomorrow now to come and do all this analysis that you have spent time? No. You will tell them to go ahead. That is why you formatted as table. Once any record comes in here, the table will capture it. Tell them to go ahead. So when next you come back as a data analyst, you want to check the update. The only thing you do is to refresh this dashboard, not to start fresh analysis. And to refresh it, you will now go to you go to the same analyze, you will see refresh here. So for example, let's say you add more information to the data set. You come here, you just select refresh all. So once you refresh all the updates will be added. That is one thing you must also know. You must know how to refresh your dashboard, because there can be a scenario where they are still entering information, or they will still enter more information after your analysis. To capture those information, then you have to come back here to refresh. So if you are not the one, maybe it's a contract stuff that after you have created the dashboard, then you leave this dashboard to the business owner, and then the other source data for the data entry personnel. So what you do is that you tell the business owner that whenever you want to see the performance of your business from this dashboard, all you need is just to come here and select refresh all. So that is for that. Now let's look at the last one, which is drill. It's a powerful technique I'm going to show us now. Now, look at what you do with drill. Drill, as the name implies, drill. It means that first you are getting the detail of a summarized value. For example, let me use the practical here to explain it. What you analyze here now, look at it. This is the sum of some variables, maybe like 5 different transactions in the data set. that falls under what this blood type that generated this submission or this one. Now, what about if you are asked that, okay, can we see the list of the report, the transaction that actually generated this? All you do is just to double click. Once you double click, just watch what Excel have done for you. That is grateful. You see that what? Remember what to double click. Female. Was it female or male? This is the detail of, let's go back here and check. What I double click is female. Now, this is the detailed sheet that it automatically generated. Now, and if you check under gender, you see that what you have only what female, 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 female. So I have how many of them? I think you can count and know how many of them that actually generated. So you can say, in fact, the company can ask you to print out only this sheet because there are times that they will tell you to print out this sub report. So as soon as you double click, it will create a separate sheet. Then you cannot go ahead and rename it if you are not okay with it. I can double click here and change it to what? Female. Change it to what? Female. Okay. Now I can go back to the report. Okay. I also want to expand to know how many the total number of or the list out of records that generated what this. Just double click. It will detail it. And if you go to that medical condition, you see only those particular what information. So you can see how powerful pivot table. So in fact, like I always said,
that is to say the data sheet is connected to the pivot table.
Exactly.
Oh.
So whenever you do summary and you want to get the breakdown, just double click on that summarized value. It will create another sheet. So what we have done in technical term is called drill through. That is what you are asking. Say, explain this. Let me know the entries that generated this and take them to a different sheet in case you want to probably print them separately. So that is the last thing we want to learn on that pivot table. I think I have actually done just in fact, watch any video on pivot table from A to Z, you will see that I've covered, if not 100%, 95% of what you need to know. And like I always advise all my students, you see, if you are going to focus on business analytics or financial analytics, please just understand only pivot table in Excel. You are good. You don't even need all those ones. Because pivot table can answer most of these business questions.
Okay. This handles business analysis also.
Yes. This is business analysis. Business analysis is you specializing on analyzing data that was generated from business transactions. That is why they call business analysis. Did you get the logic? So it's just an arm under data analytics. So when somebody says that I am a business analyst, it means that that person specializes on analyzing only data that are generated from business transactions. Probably maybe the person has been a manager, has been a CEO that is used to the kind of question that manager do ask to make decisions. So it will require certain domain expertise for you to really focus more on that. Just like some individuals, they will say that they are only just analyze politics. When it comes to politics, they know how to, they have been following election back to back, they know the history of what happened there, what happened here. So when you give them such data, it's beyond the data because they understand they have the domain expert. So why some persons specialize on analyzing medical data. When you give the call, probably they have worked in the hospital and they know how decisions are being made. So you see them when you give them hospital data or medical data, they can do better. So that is just it. Any questions, sir? Any questions? So this brings us to your questions, sir.
No. I'm okay for now.
Okay.
If I start asking you questions here, we may not leave here today. But let me just be
Okay.
reserving.
Go,
I
go,
want
go and practice first. I know by
I
when you
want to
practice.
because what I want us to do is to start relating these things to live scenarios.
Yeah, yeah,
As an analyst now, this is the experience we have, and
yeah.
considering the country I am, uh,
Okay.
these are based on experience. I don't have any other
Yeah,
experience, so I'm going to be writing my experience based on this training you are giving me. So if we are
exactly.
narrowing it down to live
Yeah,
experiences, build our
yeah,
experience,
yeah,
I will appreciate that well.
yeah.
Yes.
So, any other question?
Video clips. Hello, sir.
Yeah, you said video what?
I said the video clips. We are expecting it.
Yeah.
Yes. I will. Did you get the last one?
I did.
Good. I'll send it. Because it's late now, I think I may not be able to convert it tonight. Once I don't come tomorrow, I'll do that. So please, what you'll be doing is that just make sure that you create different students. You have to develop a portfolio. I think from what Mr. Am said now, the way it works, the experience that will be required when you are looking for job is that you should have a place where you direct your employer to show them what you have done. Certificate is no longer a major factor in looking for a tech job now. Certificate will come like the fourth requirement. The first requirement is your achievements. What have you done? So when you are learning a program like this, you have account with LinkedIn. I believe some of us will do that. Now, once you are done analyzing what you do, once you are done analyzing where is that for, like this dashboard now, take time to design it, answer quality question, as if this data was given to you by an organization that you are going to present your insight to. Now, after that, you explain the data that you analyze. Tell them the features, what and what the data constitutes. Then itemize the possible analysis question. Then you can just you can just mention a company name and be using it that, okay, this company, that company wants me to bring out this, they want me to bring out that, they want me to bring out this. This is where I am providing the insight. All this is then you screenshot. You just take a picture of all your dashboard, your analysis, and then attach it to the post. So you continue to update, put your contact there. If you have maybe other platforms like YouTube, you put it there. Now, what they need is that they should be able to go there and see that you have done something in the past. Because one thing that they believe is that if you are looking for the job today and you now rush just because you have applied, they are very smart, they know history. You now rush to go and do some work and publish there just because you are looking for the work tomorrow. They know when was that post made. That is what they will use to rate your experience, to know how long you have been in the field. So just like the videos that I'm also uh, uploading to our YouTube page is a way of creating a very strong portfolio. A time will come when somebody is doubting whether we can train. We'll tell the person, go to our YouTube page. By the time you get to that YouTube page and see video that we recorded 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the person will have no choice than to be convinced. That is how it works. Then your certificate is also part of it. But the company will not even, once you can prove to them that you can do it, they give you the job.
Someone is actually being trained with your video on YouTube.
Wow.
Someone asked for recommendation. I hope it's not a challenge. After all, okay, you put it there
No,
for.
no, 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 no,
Yeah,
no.
so
There's no problem with that. There's
I
no
have
problem.
I have a friend who is currently going through
No,
your
no, no,
training
no, no, no. There's no
from the
problem.
start.
If I want to make them private, I will not make them public. No, no,
Yes,
no,
that's
there's
true.
no problem. I believe someday he will recommend somebody. I even want more people to follow. There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. So, if there's no other question, we can see once we are done with Excel, as we are taking on those other programs, you are developing more capacity on how to analyze data. So, it's a journey, and by the time we are done with the whole stuff, I don't think that you find it difficult. Uh, the field is a very simple. The only thing is
When
that
are we when are we going to conclude the remaining lookups?
yes, the next class I'll try. Hey, let me confirm. Have you have you guys installed the version, the higher version?
I think mine is updated version because I have a direct
You
account with
you
Microsoft. So
okay, good. And you have checked that you have definitely you should have it. But that is what I'm going to do because I discovered that there's a way I normally convert it, but it's not working. That's why the time frame for me to rectify wasn't there. That's how to shift it. So what I'm going to do is to register with Microsoft and then use it to teach us. In the next class, I'm going back to it to round up that one. Then I'm going back to that one, and then we still have conditional formatting. So once I finish that S lookup and H lookup and conditional formatting, then we're done with Excel. I know Mr. Kayode have done conditional formatting, except if you want to join. And so very soon we are entering Python. Any question that we can draw the curtain here? Any question?
not for me.
All right. So good night, everyone. I hope remember the project. Remember the
Good
project.
night, sir.
Keep developing the project. The possibility of us presenting it in the next class.
Thank you. All right, good night.
Good night.
Good night.